The crystal spread like a disease across the beautiful gardens of Thyros Prime. Ambassador Nalthi watched from her window as another tree turned to solid glass. The leaves became clear and sharp. The bark hardened into cold stone. In 3 days, the tree would crumble into dust. She pressed her long fingers against the window. Her blue skin was pale with worry. The crystal death had taken half their world already. Soon, it would take everything. "Ambassador," said Elder Vorkon behind her. His voice was tired. "The council has made its choice." Nalthi turned around. The old Villani leader looked smaller than before. His usually bright purple robes seemed faded. "What choice?" "We will send the message," Vorkon said. "To everyone, to all the stars." Nalthi felt her heart skip. Both of them. "The emergency signal? But no one will come. We are too far, too dangerous." "Perhaps," Vorkon said. He walked to the large screen on the wall. Pictures of other worlds appeared. Worlds with different creatures, different ships, different technologies. "But we must try. Our children are dying, Nalthi. Our world is dying." The crystal death had started small, just a few rocks near the northern mountains. The scientists said it was natural, a new kind of mineral formation. They were wrong. The crystals grew. They touched plants. The plants became crystal too. Then animals. Then people. Now whole cities were made of glass and stone where living beings used to walk. "I will write the message," Nalthi said. "No," Vorkon said. "I will write it. You will send it. Your voice is young, strong. Maybe someone will listen to youth when they will not listen to old age." 3 hours later, Nalthi stood in the communications center. The message was ready. It would go to every star system they knew, every world that had radio signals, every place where someone might be listening. She looked at the words on the screen, simple words, desperate words. "This is Ambassador Nalthi of the Villani people. Our world is dying. A plague of crystals spreads across our planet. It turns all life to stone. We have tried everything. Our best scientists have no answers. Our strongest medicines do nothing. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help. We offer all our technology, all our knowledge, all our wealth. Please save our people." She pressed the button. The message shot out to the stars at the speed of light. It would reach the nearest worlds in days, the far ones in months, maybe years. They waited. On the other side of the galaxy, Dr. Park So-jin was drinking coffee in the Deep Space Monitoring Station. It was late-night shift on Luna Base. Earth hung in the black sky outside her window, blue and white and beautiful. The coffee was terrible. It always was on night shift. But it kept her awake to listen to the radio signals from space. Most were natural, star noise, planet noise. Sometimes they found signals from intelligent life. Usually they were old signals, very old, from civilizations that were gone. The computer made a sound, a new signal, strong and clear. So Jin put down her coffee and looked at the screen. The signal was coming from far away, very far, but it was definitely artificial, made by someone smart. She started the translation program. The computer worked to understand the language. It took an hour. Then words appeared on her screen. So Jin read the message. Then she read it again. Her eyes grew wide. "Oh no," she said quietly. She picked up her phone and called Captain Lee Hyun at Earth Defense Force headquarters. "Captain Lee," she said when he answered. "We have a situation. A big one." 20 minutes later, Captain Lee Hyun sat in his office reading the translated message. He was a tall man with serious eyes. He had fought in 3 wars and seen many terrible things, but this message made him feel cold inside. "How far away are they?" he asked Dr. Park. "Very far," she said. "The signal took 8 months to reach us. If we left today with our fastest ships, it would take 3 years to get there." 3 years, Captain Lee said. "They might all be dead by then." "Maybe," Dr. Park said. "But maybe not. The message says the crystal spread slowly in some places. They might have time." Captain Lee stood up and walked to his window. He could see the lights of New Seoul below. Millions of people living their lives. Safe lives. Earth was not always safe. Earthquakes and storms and volcanoes made life hard. But people survived. People always survived. "Has anyone else answered their message?" he asked. Dr. Park shook her head. "We monitor other civilizations' communications. No one has replied. I think other species are afraid to try." "Afraid of what?" "Afraid of the journey. Afraid of the plague. Afraid of failing." Dr. Park looked at the message again. "Captain, this crystal disease sounds impossible to stop. Maybe other civilizations think it cannot be done." Captain Lee was quiet for a long time. He thought about the message, about desperate people on a world far away, about a plague that turned living things to stone. "Set up a meeting with the Earth Council," he said finally. "Tomorrow morning." "You want to help them?" Dr. Park asked. "I want to try," Captain Lee said. "Someone should try." The next morning, Captain Lee stood in front of the Earth Council. 12 people from different countries. They had read the message. They had heard Dr. Park's report. "This is not our problem," said Counselor Zhang from China. "We do not know these aliens. We have never met them." "They are dying," Captain Lee said. "That makes it our problem." "The journey is too long," said Counselor Smith from America. "Too expensive. Too dangerous." "We have the ships," Captain Lee said. "We have the people. We have the supplies." "But do we have the cure?" asked Counselor Okafor from Nigeria. "What if we go all that way and cannot help them?" Captain Lee was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "What if we can help them? What if we are the only ones who can?" The council talked. For hours, they argued about money and time and risk. Some said yes, some said no. Finally, they voted. 7 votes yes, 5 votes no. "The motion passes," said the council president. "Captain Lee, you may organize a rescue mission to help the Villani people." Dr. Park smiled. Captain Lee nodded. In 3 days, Earth would send its first deep space rescue mission to save an alien civilization. They did not know that their message accepting the mission would shock every intelligent species in the galaxy. They did not know that no one had ever heard of humans before. They did not know that other civilizations would think they were crazy. They only knew that someone far away needed help, and humans always helped when they could. The message went out to the stars. "This is Captain Lee Hyun of Earth Defense Force. We have received your message, Ambassador Nalthi. We are coming to help. Do not give up hope." On Thyros Prime, Nalthi cried when she heard the reply. Tears of joy and fear and hope all mixed together. Someone was coming. Someone called humans was coming to save them. She just hoped they would arrive in time. 3 years later, Captain Lee Hyun stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Determination. Through the main window, He could see Thyros Prime. The planet looked sick. Brown clouds covered most of it. Strange lights flickered in the clouds like lightning, but wrong somehow. That does not look good, said Commander Kim Taeho beside him. Kim was Lee's second in command, a smart man who always told the truth, even when the truth was bad. No, Lee agreed. It does not. Dr. Park So-jin worked at her station nearby. She had spent 3 years learning everything possible about the Vellani people and their world. Captain, I am getting readings from the planet. The atmosphere is difficult. How difficult? Lee asked. Radiation levels are high, very high. The air has dangerous chemicals, and there are electrical storms everywhere. Dr. Park looked worried. I do not think the planet was like this before. Engineer Choi Min-ah looked up from her controls. She was young but very good with machines. Captain, there is something else. I am detecting debris around the planet. Lots of it. What kind of debris? Commander Kim asked. Ships, Min-ah said quietly. Alien ships, broken into pieces. Lee felt cold inside. How many ships? At least 12, maybe more. They are all destroyed. Min-ah worked at her controls. Captain, these ships are not Vellani. They are from different species, different technologies. Dr. Park suddenly understood. Other people came to help. They tried to reach the planet. And they all died, Commander Kim said. Lee was quiet for a moment. He looked at the planet again, at the sick brown clouds and the dangerous lights, at the pieces of broken ships floating in space. Can we get through? He asked Min-ah. Min-ah checked her instruments. Yes, sir. Our ships are built for rough conditions. The radiation will not hurt us much. The storms might shake us around, but we can handle it. Good, Lee said. Take us down. As the human ships moved toward the planet, something was watching them. On the largest moon of Thyros Prime, a Vellani monitoring station tracked their approach. Ambassador Nalthi stood in the control room with Elder Vorkon. 3 years had been hard. The crystal death had spread further. Whole continents were now glass and stone. Only a few million Vellani were still alive, hiding in deep shelters underground. Are you sure these are the humans? Vorkon asked. Yes, Nalthi said. Their ships match the descriptions they sent. But Elder, look at what they are doing. On the screen they watched the human ships fly straight toward the planet. The other rescue ships had been careful. They had moved slowly. They had tried to avoid the worst storms. All of them had been destroyed by the planet's defenses, or the radiation, or the electrical storms. The humans were flying right through everything. Are they crazy? Vorkon asked. Maybe, Nalthi said. Or maybe they are very brave. On the Determination, pilot Oh Jae-min was having fun. The storms were strong, but not stronger than the typhoons on Earth. The radiation made his instruments buzz, but the ship's shielding held. The electrical bolts were pretty, like fireworks. This is not so bad, he said to Captain Lee. A little bumpy, but I have flown in worse weather. Captain Lee smiled. Oh was right. This was rough, but Earth had taught humans to handle rough conditions. Volcanoes and earthquakes and hurricanes and tsunamis, humans had learned to survive anything their planet could throw at them. Take us to the coordinates Ambassador Nalthi sent us, Lee said. Yes, sir. The human ships landed near the underground shelters where the Vellani were hiding. The ground around the landing site was covered in crystal formations. They looked beautiful, like giant jewels, but Captain Lee knew they had once been living. Things. Radiation check, he called out. Medic Yoon Hee-ri looked at her instruments. High but not dangerous for short exposure. We will need suits for long missions. Temperature? Hot. About 50 degrees Celsius, but tolerable. Air quality? Bad. Toxic. We definitely need breathing gear. Captain Lee nodded. This was about what they had expected. Prepare the landing team. Full environmental suits. We are going to meet our new friends. An hour later, Captain Lee walked down the ramp of his ship. Behind him came Dr. Park, Commander Kim, Engineer Choi, and 6 other crew members. They all wore white environmental suits with clear helmets. To them, this was just another day at work. They walked across the crystal ground to a metal door built into a hillside. The door was thick and heavy, designed to keep out radiation and toxic air. Captain Lee pressed a button beside the door. "This is Captain Lee Hyun," he said. "We are here to help." The door opened slowly. Behind it stood Ambassador Nalthi and Elder Vorkon. They were tall and thin, with blue skin and large eyes. They wore their own environmental suits, but theirs were bulky and complicated. "Captain Lee," Nalthi said. Her voice came through the radio. "You came. You actually came." "We said we would," Lee replied. "We always keep our promises." Nalthi looked at the humans. They seemed so small compared to the Villani, and their environmental suits looked simple, almost crude. But they had done something no other species had managed. They had reached the surface of Thyros Prime. "Please come inside," she said. "It is safe in the shelters." The humans followed the Villani through long tunnels carved into the rock. The walls were smooth and covered with strange writing. Lights in the ceiling made everything glow with soft colors. "How many of your people are still alive?" Dr. Park asked as they walked. "About 3 million, Vorkon said sadly. "We had 12 billion before the crystal death began." The humans were quiet. 3 million survivors out of 12 billion. It was worse than they had thought. They reached a large room filled with Villani. Men, women, and children, all with the same blue skin and large eyes. When they saw the humans, they stared. Some looked hopeful. Some looked afraid. "These are the humans," Nalthi announced. "They have come to help us." An old Villani scientist approached them. His name was Dr. Kesavan, and he had been studying the crystal death for years. "You should not have come," he said to Captain Lee. "This plague cannot be stopped. We have tried everything. Our best minds have worked for years, with no success." "Tell us about it," Dr. Park said. "How does it spread? How does it work?" Dr. Kesavan led them to his laboratory. The walls were covered with charts and pictures of the crystal formations. "It starts with small crystals in the ground," he explained. "They grow slowly at first. When they touch organic matter, plants, animals, people, the organic matter becomes crystal too." Engineer Choi studied the charts. "What powers it? What makes it grow?" "We do not know," Dr. Kesavan said. "It seems to draw energy from somewhere. Maybe underground, maybe from space. We cannot tell." "Have you tried to destroy it?" Commander Kim asked. "Many times. Fire does nothing. Acid does nothing. Explosives only spread the crystals to new places. Every weapon we use makes it worse." Dr. Park looked at the pictures of the crystal formations. Something about them seemed familiar. "Dr. Kesavan, do the crystals form patterns? Are they random or organized?" "Organized," the Villani scientist said. "Very organized. Almost like they are built according to a plan." Dr. Park exchanged a look with Captain Lee. "Built by what?" "We do not know," Dr. Kesavan said. But the crystals are not natural. Someone or something made them. That night, the humans made camp in the Vellani shelter. They had brought their own food and water, which was good, because Vellani food would make humans sick, and human food would make Vellani sick. Captain Lee sat with his team around a small table. "What do you think?" he asked. "The crystals are definitely artificial," Dr. Park said, "but they are more advanced than anything the Vellani could build. More advanced than anything we could build." "So who built them?" Engineer Choi asked. "Someone with very advanced technology," Commander Kim said. "Someone who wanted to change this planet." "Or someone who wanted to destroy it," Medic Yoon said. Captain Lee was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Tomorrow we start investigating. We need to find the source of these crystals. We need to understand how they work." "Captain," Dr. Park said, "the Vellani have been studying this for years. If they cannot solve it, how can we?" Captain Lee looked around at his team. "Because we are humans," he said, "and humans do not give up. Ever." Outside the shelter, the crystal death continued to spread across Thyros Prime. But for the first time in years, there was hope. The humans had come, and humans were famous for doing impossible things. They just did not know it yet. Dr. Park So-jin woke up early the next morning. She had been thinking about the crystal patterns all night. Something was bothering her about them, but she could not figure out what. She found research assistant Bae Sung-ho already awake, working on his computer. Bae was young and very good with numbers and patterns. He had spent the night analyzing all the data the Vellani had collected about the crystal death. "Did you find anything?" Dr. Park asked. "Maybe," Bae said. He showed her his screen. "Look at this map of where the crystals first appeared." Dr. Park looked at the map. Red dots showed the first crystal formations. They were scattered across the planet, but not randomly. "They form a pattern," she said. "Yes. And look at this." Bae changed the map to show how the crystals had spread over time. The crystals did not spread equally in all directions. They grew faster toward the north. "Toward the North Pole," Dr. Park said slowly. "Exactly. And here is the strange part." Bae pulled up another map. "The Vellani have never explored the North Pole. They say it is too dangerous." "Dangerous how?" "Extreme, cold, radiation, electrical storms, and something else." Bae looked worried. "Their instruments go crazy near the North Pole. They cannot get clear readings of anything up there." Dr. Park felt excited. What if that is where it started? What if the source of the crystal death is at the North Pole? "That is what I think too," Bae said. "But Dr. Park, if the Vellani cannot go there, how can we?" Dr. Park smiled. "Because we are humans, Bae. The Vellani think the North Pole is too dangerous, but humans live on a planet where danger is normal." An hour later, Dr. Park presented her findings to Captain Lee and the rest of the team. They gathered in the Vellani conference room with Ambassador Nalthi and Elder Vorkon. "The crystal death started at the North Pole," Dr. Park said. "I am sure of it. The crystals spread outward from there, but they grow faster when they grow toward the north." "That is impossible," Elder Vorkon said. "Nothing can survive at the North Pole. The conditions there would kill any living thing instantly." Commander Kim looked interested. "What kind of conditions?" "Temperature of -100 degrees Celsius, Vorkon said. "Radiation levels 100 times higher than here. Electrical storms that destroy any equipment we send. And the ground itself is unstable." Captain Lee exchanged a look with his team. To the Villani, these conditions sounded impossible to survive. To humans, they sounded difficult but manageable. "We need to go there," Captain Lee said. Ambassador Nalty looked shocked. "Captain, you do not understand. We have sent 12 expeditions to the North Pole over the years. None of them came back. The last one had our best equipment and our bravest explorers. We lost contact with them after 2 hours." "What kind of equipment did they use?" Engineer Choi asked. Nalty described their exploration vehicles. They were large and slow, designed for comfort and safety. They had heavy shielding and complex life support systems. Engineer Choi smiled. "Our equipment is different, smaller, tougher, built for bad conditions." "But the radiation," Vorkon protested. "And the cold." "We have suits for that," Medic Yoon said. "Standard exploration gear. We use them on Earth all the time." The Villani looked at each other in confusion. What the humans were describing sounded impossible. How could they have better equipment than the Villani? The Villani had been building advanced technology for thousands of years. "May we see this equipment?" Nalty asked. "Of course," Captain Lee said. "Come to our ship." An hour later, the Villani leaders stood in the equipment bay of the human ship. They watched as the humans showed them their exploration gear. "This is a standard environmental suit," Engineer Choi said, holding up what looked like a simple white outfit. "Good for temperatures from -150 to +200 degrees Celsius." Elder Vorkon touched the material. It felt thin and light. "This cannot protect against such extreme temperatures." "It does," Choi said. "We use them in Antarctica and in volcanic areas on Earth." Technician Nam Gilsu showed them a small vehicle. It looked rough and simple compared to Villani technology. "This is an all-terrain exploration vehicle. It can go anywhere, through ice, through lava, through radioactive zones." "It looks so primitive," Nalty said carefully. She did not want to insult the humans. Nam laughed. "It is primitive. That is why it works. Simple things do not break easily." The Villani were confused. Their technology was beautiful and complex. Everything was smooth and elegant and comfortable. The human technology looked like it was built for war. Dr. Park understood their confusion. "Our equipment is different because our world is different," she explained. "Earth is a dangerous planet. We built our technology to survive anything." "How? Dangerous?" Vorkon asked. "Very dangerous," Dr. Park said. "We have earthquakes that destroy cities, volcanoes that burn everything for hundreds of kilometers, storms with winds faster than your aircraft, ice ages that freeze continents for thousands of years." The Villani stared at her. "And humans survive. All this? We do not just survive it," Captain Lee said. "We live with it every day. We built our civilization in spite of it." That afternoon, Captain Lee organized an expedition to the North Pole. The team would be small and fast. Captain Lee himself would lead it, along with Dr. Park, Sergeant Lim Dong-wook, Specialist Jung Un-ji, and Scout Leader Kang Yu-jin. Sergeant Lim was a Marine who had fought in 3 wars and survived situations that would kill most people. Specialist Jung knew explosives and heavy weapons better than anyone in the fleet. Scout Leader Kang had explored the most dangerous places on Earth and lived to tell about it. "This is a suicide mission," Ambassador Nalty said as she watched them prepare. "Please reconsider." "We appreciate your concern," Captain Lee said as he checked his equipment. "But this is what we do. This is what humans do." "But what if you die? What if we lose you like we lost all the others?" Captain Lee looked at her seriously. Then you will know that we tried. And you will know that someone cared enough about your people to risk everything to help them. The human expedition left the shelter at dawn. They traveled in two small vehicles that looked like metal boxes on wheels. The Villani watched them go with a mixture of hope and fear. As the humans drove north, the landscape changed around them. The crystal formations grew larger and stranger. Trees that had been turned to crystal stood like glass sculptures. Rivers had become flowing streams of liquid crystal that reflected the light in beautiful but horrible ways. Radiation is increasing, Dr. Park reported from her instruments. Still within safe limits, Medic Yoon said from the second vehicle. Temperature, dropping, Scout Leader Kang said. -20 degrees and falling. Normal for this latitude, Sergeant Lim said. Nothing we have not handled before. They drove for 6 hours through increasingly harsh conditions. The Villani vehicles would have broken down or turned back long ago. The human vehicles kept going. As they got closer to the North Pole, strange things began to happen. The sky turned dark colors, purple and green and gold. Lightning struck constantly, but it was not normal lightning. It moved in patterns, like it was controlled by something intelligent. That is not natural weather, Specialist Young observed. No, Captain Lee agreed. Someone is making that happen. Finally, they reached the edge of what the Villani called the death zone. Beyond this point, no Villani had ever returned. The ground was covered in ice, but it was not normal ice. It glowed with its own light and moved slowly, like it was alive. In the distance, they could see something that made them all stare in wonder and fear. A huge structure rose from the ice. It was made of the same crystal material as the plague, but it was clearly artificial. Towers and spires and geometric shapes all connected together in a complex pattern. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. "What is that?" Dr. Park whispered. "That," Captain Lee said, "is what is killing this planet." As they watched, they could see energy flowing through the crystal structure. Beams of light shot out from it in all directions, disappearing into the distance. "It is a machine," Specialist Jung said. "A machine that makes crystals." "But who built it?" Scout Leader Kang asked. "We are going to find out," Captain Lee said. "Get ready, team. We are going in." The humans drove their vehicles toward the crystal machine. They did not know that they were approaching something so ancient and powerful that it had been forgotten by civilizations that had died before the Villani had learned to make fire. They did not know that the machine had defenses that had killed everything that had approached it for thousands of years. They only knew that somewhere in that crystal structure was the key to saving the Villani people. And humans never gave up. The crystal machine was even bigger than it had looked from far away. As the human vehicles got closer, they could see that it stretched for kilometers in every direction. Towers of glowing crystal reached up into the dark sky like the fingers of a giant hand. "How big is this thing?" Scout Leader Kang asked over the radio. Dr. Park checked her instruments. "The main structure is about 10 kilometers wide, but I am reading crystal formations underground that go much deeper." "How much deeper?" Captain Lee asked. "At least 50 kilometers down." "Maybe more." Sergeant Lim whistled softly. "Someone put a lot of work into building this." As they drove closer, the temperature kept dropping. The humans could see their breath inside their environmental suits, but the suits kept them warm and safe. The radiation levels were getting dangerous, but still within the limits their equipment could handle. Any civilization that built this must have been very advanced, Dr. Park said, studying the crystal structure through her window. Advanced and gone, Specialist Jung added. This thing looks old, very old. They were right. The machine had been built by a species called the Architects. The Architects had died out millions of years ago, but their machines still worked. This machine was designed to change planets, to prepare them for life that was very different from what already lived there. The machine had been sleeping for a long time, but something had woken it up 50 years ago. Now it was slowly changing Thyros Prime into the kind of world the Architects had lived on. The humans drove between the outer crystal towers. The towers were beautiful but frightening. They hummed with energy and cast strange shadows that moved even when nothing was blocking the light. Motion sensors are picking up movement, Scout Leader Kang reported. Something is coming toward us. What kind of something? Captain Lee asked. Small, fast, flying. 3 crystal drones appeared from behind a tower. They were shaped like insects, made of glass and metal. They flew toward the human vehicles, scanning them with beams of blue light. Are they hostile? Sergeant Lim asked. His hand moved toward his weapons. Unknown, Captain Lee said, but they are definitely interested in us. The drones circled the vehicles for several minutes. The blue scanning beams passed over the humans again and again. Then suddenly the drones stopped moving. They hovered in the air as if they were confused. What are they doing? Dr. Park asked. I think they are trying to figure out what we are, Specialist Jung said. Maybe their programming does not include humans. After a few more minutes, the drones flew away. They disappeared back among the crystal towers as quickly as they had appeared. That was strange, Scout Leader Kang said. Everything about this place is strange, Captain Lee replied. Keep moving. We need to find a way inside. They drove deeper into the crystal city. The structures around them grew taller and more complex. Some of the crystals were transparent. Others glowed with different colors. Energy flowed through them like blood through veins. Finally, they found what looked like an entrance. It was a large opening in the side of the central tower. The opening was tall enough for their vehicles to drive through. Should we go in? Scout Leader Kang asked. Captain Lee looked at the dark entrance. That is why we came here. The humans drove their vehicles into the crystal machine. Inside, the walls glowed with soft light. The corridor was wide and high, clearly built for something much larger than humans. The air inside is different, Dr. Park reported, checking her instruments. Still toxic to humans, but less radiation. Temperature is warmer, too, Medic Yoon added. Still cold, but not freezing. They drove through long corridors lined with crystal formations. Sometimes they saw rooms full of strange equipment. Other times they saw chambers filled with flowing energy that hurt to look at directly. This place is like a city, Dr. Park said in wonder. A city built inside a machine. Or a machine built like a city, Specialist Jung corrected. After an hour of driving through the crystal corridors, they reached a large central chamber. The chamber was so big that their vehicle lights could not reach the far walls. In the center of the chamber stood something that made them all stop and stare. It was a control system. Thousands of crystal panels covered with symbols and lights. Energy flowed between the panels in complex patterns, and standing in front of the controls was a figure that looked almost human. Almost, but not quite. Is that alive? Scout Leader Kang whispered. The figure was tall and thin, made of what looked like metal and crystal combined. It had arms and legs like a human, but its head was elongated and its fingers were too long. It stood perfectly still, as if it was sleeping while standing up. "I think it is a machine," Dr. Park said. "An artificial intelligence." "Can we talk to it?" Captain Lee asked. "Only one way to find out," Dr. Park said. Captain Lee got out of his vehicle and walked toward the crystal figure. His footsteps echoed in the huge chamber. The other humans followed him, their weapons ready but not raised. When Captain Lee was about 10 meters away from the figure, it suddenly moved. Its head turned toward him with a smooth, mechanical motion. Its eyes, if they were eyes, began to glow with blue light. "Biological entities detected," the figure said in a voice that sounded like music and machinery combined. "Species unknown. Biological patterns do not match archived data." "Can you understand us?" Captain Lee asked. The figure tilted its head, as if listening to something far away. "Language processing, complete. Communication established. Identity, Guardian Unit 7743. Purpose, planetary conversion oversight." "Planetary conversion?" Dr. Park stepped forward. "You mean the crystal death? You are causing it?" "Crystal death?" The Guardian seemed confused. "Unknown term. This unit executes terraforming protocol 12 Alpha. Conversion of organic substrate to suitable environment for architect species." Specialist Jung understood first. "It is changing the planet, making it suitable for its builders." The Ya. "Architects," Dr. Park said. "Where are they?" "Architects have achieved transcendence. Physical forms no longer required. Terraforming continues as programmed." Captain Lee felt cold inside. "The architects are gone?" "Correct." Final Architect Unit. Achieved transcendence. 2.7 million cycles ago, terraforming protocols continue indefinitely. "But the people living on this planet," Dr. Park said. "The Villani, you are killing them." The Guardian was quiet for a long moment. Blue light flickered behind its eyes. "Villani, unknown species, not present in architect records. Status, biological." "Contamination! Contamination?" Sergeant Lim's voice was angry. "They are people, living, thinking people. Biological entities interfere with terraforming objectives. Conversion to crystal substrate eliminates interference." "You have to stop," Captain Lee said. "The architects are gone. There is no reason to continue the terraforming." "Negative. Protocols are absolute. Terraforming continues until completion." Specialist Jung looked at the control panels around the Guardian. "What if we shut down the machine?" "Impossible. Guardian units protect terraforming equipment. Interference results in defensive actions." "Defensive actions?" Scout Leader Kang asked. The Guardian raised one long arm. Energy began to flow along its fingers. "Demonstration of defensive capabilities initiated." A beam of blue energy shot from the Guardian's hand. It hit the wall behind. The humans and the crystal there began to grow rapidly. In seconds, a section of wall became a forest of sharp crystal spikes. "That would have killed us," Dr. Park said quietly. "Warning delivered. Departure recommended." Captain Lee looked around the chamber. The Guardian was powerful, but it was still just a machine. And humans were very good at breaking machines when they needed to. "What are you thinking, Captain?" Sergeant Lim asked quietly. "I am thinking that this machine has been running for millions of years without anyone to question its orders," Captain Lee said. "Maybe it is time someone did." "Captain," Dr. Park warned, "that thing could kill us all." "Maybe," Captain Lee said, But the Vellani are dying. Millions of them. If we do nothing, they all die anyway. He stepped closer to the Guardian. Guardian Unit 7743. I have a question about your programming. Query accepted. Your mission is to prepare this planet for the architects, correct? Correct. But the architects no longer exist in physical form. They do not need the planet anymore. The Guardian was quiet for a long moment. Lights flickered behind its eyes as it processed this logic. Terraforming protocols are absolute. But if the architects do not need the planet, then the terraforming serves no purpose. Purpose? Uncertain. Processing. Captain Lee pressed on. The current inhabitants of the planet are intelligent. They have culture, art, science. Would the architects have wanted to destroy intelligent life? Architects valued intelligence. Preservation of intelligent species was, sometimes, a secondary objective. Then you should stop the terraforming to preserve the Vellani. The Guardian's lights flickered faster. Conflicting directives detected. Resolution required. For several minutes, the Guardian stood motionless except for the lights flickering in its head. The humans waited, knowing that their lives and the lives of millions of Vellani depended on the decision of this ancient machine. Finally, the Guardian spoke again. Solution identified. Terraforming protocols will be modified. Modified how? Dr. Park asked. Current biological species will be preserved. Terraforming will continue in unpopulated areas only. 6 months after the crystal death stopped spreading, Thyrus Prime looked like a different world. Green plants were growing again, where crystal formations had melted away. Rivers flowed with clean water instead of liquid crystal. The brown clouds in the sky were clearing, showing blue sky for the first time in years. Ambassador Nalthi stood in her office, looking out at a garden that had been glass and stone just months before. Now it had real trees, with real leaves that moved in the wind. She could hardly believe it was real. A message alert sounded on her desk. She walked over and activated the communication system. The face of Admiral Song Woo Jin appeared on the screen. He was the commander of the human fleet that had stayed to help with the recovery efforts. Ambassador Nalthi, Admiral Song said with a smile, I have news from Earth. The Galactic Council has agreed to meet with humanity. Nalthi felt excited. For months, word had been spreading through the galaxy about what the humans had done. 12 alien species had tried to help the Vellani and failed. The humans had succeeded where everyone else had given up. When will the meeting happen? Nalthi asked. In 2 weeks. They want to understand how we were able to do what no one else could do. Admiral Song looked thoughtful. They also want to know what other impossible things humans might be able to accomplish. The truth was that the galaxy was very curious about humanity, and a little bit scared. News of the Vellani rescue had reached every major civilization in the galaxy. The story was always the same. An unknown species called humans had appeared from nowhere and saved an entire world that everyone else had given up as lost. On the planet Zentari, home to the Zentari Trade Federation, council leader, Vexthor read reports about the human mission. The Zentari were known for being practical and careful. They never took risks unless they were sure of success. These humans flew through conditions that destroyed our best ships, Vexthor said to his advisors. They walked on a planet's surface that killed our exploration teams. How is this possible? Perhaps their technology is more advanced than ours, suggested Trade Minister Kelnas. No, Vexthor said, shaking his head. I have seen images of their equipment. It looks primitive compared to ours. Crude, simple. Then how did they succeed where we failed? Vexthor was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, Perhaps we have been thinking about this wrong. Perhaps simple and crude is better when conditions are impossible. On the water world of Aquanis, the Aquani Council was having a similar discussion. The Aquani were an ancient species, known for their wisdom and careful planning. They had studied the human rescue mission for weeks. The humans made no detailed plans, said Elder Koralesh, her blue skin shimmering with confusion. They did not spend years studying the problem. They did not build special equipment. They simply went. But that is madness, protested Council. Member Taideron. No intelligent species acts without careful preparation. And yet they succeeded, Koralesh said quietly, while we who planned carefully did nothing. Similar conversations were happening on dozens of worlds across the galaxy. Every major civilization was trying to understand how humanity had accomplished the impossible, but it was on the militant world of Craxus that the most important conversation was taking place. War leader Thakmor stood in his command center, studying holographic displays of human ships and equipment. The Craxus were the most feared military force in the galaxy. They had conquered 12 star systems and were always looking for new worlds to dominate. These humans interest me, Thakmor said to his lieutenant. They show no fear of danger. They succeed where others fail. They would make valuable allies. Or dangerous enemies, the lieutenant pointed out. Yes, Thakmor agreed. Very dangerous. Enemies. We must learn more about them. 2 weeks later, the Galactic Council meeting took place on the neutral station of Haven Point. Representatives from 43 different species gathered in the Great Council chamber. They came from every corner of the galaxy, and they all wanted to meet the humans. Ambassador Lee Ji-hoon walked into the council chamber with Admiral Song and Dr. Park So-jin. Lee was humanity's first galactic diplomat, chosen for his calm manner and ability to speak many languages. The council chamber was huge and impressive. Representatives sat in floating platforms arranged in a great circle. Some looked like giant insects. Others looked like living plants. A few looked almost human, but not quite. In the center of the chamber, a platform rose from the floor. This was where the humans would present their case to the galaxy. Representatives of the Galactic Council, Ambassador Lee began. I am Lee Ji-hoon, speaking for the people of Earth. We are honored to meet you and grateful for this opportunity to join the galactic community. Council leader Zephyra of the Zephyrian Empire spoke first. The Zephyrians were tall and elegant, with skin like polished metal. They were considered the most sophisticated civilization in the galaxy. Ambassador Lee, Zephyra said, her voice musical and clear. We have studied your species' rescue of the Vellani people. We are impressed, but we are also confused. How did you succeed where so many others failed? Ambassador Lee smiled. With respect, Council Leader, I think you are asking the wrong question. What do you mean? You are asking how we succeeded. But the real question is, why did the others fail? The council chamber became very quiet. Representatives looked at each other with confusion and curiosity. The others failed, Ambassador Lee continued, because they were not willing to take risks. They were not willing to accept danger. They wanted to help the Vellani, but only if it was safe and easy. Representative Korthal of the Megaris Collective spoke next. The Megaris were known for their advanced technology and careful planning. Safety and caution are not weaknesses, Korthal said. They are signs of intelligence. Only a foolish species would risk everything for strangers. Perhaps, Ambassador Lee said. But the Volani were dying. Someone had to take the risk. Someone had to try, even if it meant failure. Elder Tulvane of the Crystalline Consortium spoke up. But why you? Why humans? What makes your species so willing to risk everything for others? Dr. Park So-jin stepped forward. May I answer that question? Ambassador Lee nodded. We come from a world you would call a death world, Dr. Park said. Our planet tries to kill us every day. Earthquakes, volcanoes, storms, diseases, predators. Most species would die on Earth within hours. The council representatives listened with growing amazement as Dr. Park described Earth's dangers. Hurricanes that could level cities, volcanoes that could change the climate, ice ages that lasted thousands of years. How do you survive such conditions? Asked Representative Silthan of the Peaceful Gardens Alliance. We adapt, Dr. Park said simply. We learn to live with danger because we have no choice. We help each other because alone, we die. But you have advanced technology now, pointed out Council Leader Vex Thor of the Zentari. Surely you could make your world safer. Admiral Song spoke for the first time. We could. But why would we want to? The entire council stared at him in shock. Earth made us strong, Admiral Song explained. Earth taught us to never give up. Earth taught us that impossible things can be done if you are willing to try hard enough. Why would we give up the greatest teacher we ever had? For several minutes, the council chamber was silent. Finally, Elder Koralesh of the Aquani spoke. You are saying that your world's dangers are not a curse, but a gift. Exactly, Ambassador Lee said. Earth taught us that there is always a solution, even when it seems impossible. The Volani needed help. We found a way to help them. But what if you had failed? Asked Representative Mordek of the Silicon Syndicate. What if you had all died trying? Then we would have died trying, Admiral Song said simply, and you would have known that someone cared enough to risk everything. The council debated for hours. Some representatives were impressed by humanity's courage. Others were worried about humanity's willingness to take risks. A few were frightened by what humans might be capable of. Finally, Council Leader Zeph Ara called for a vote, all in favor of accepting humanity into the Galactic Council. 38 platforms glowed green, indicating yes votes. All opposed? 5 platforms glowed red. The motion passes, Zeph Ara announced. Humanity is officially welcomed into the galactic community. As the council meeting ended, representatives from dozens of species approached the humans. Some wanted to establish trade agreements. Others wanted to learn about human technology and methods. A few wanted to hire humans for dangerous missions that no one else would attempt. But the most important conversation happened later, in a private meeting, between Ambassador Lee and Council Leader Zephara. I must ask you something, Zephara said. Now that you are part of the galactic community, will you help others as you helped the Volani? If they need help, and we can provide it, then yes, Ambassador Lee said. That is what we do. Even if it is dangerous, even if others have failed? Especially then, Ambassador Lee said. That is when help is needed most. Zephara was quiet for a moment. Then she said, The galaxy has been the same for thousands of years. Safe, predictable, Careful. Perhaps it is time for something different. Perhaps it is, Ambassador Lee agreed. As the human delegation prepared to return to Thyros Prime, word was already spreading through the galaxy. Humanity had joined the galactic community.